It's widely believed by psychologists that you can't change a mind that's already convinced of something. If you doubt me, post something political on Facebook. This doesn't mean, though, that you can't influence people's decisions. In this episode of the Land.MBA podcast, we're going to talk about resonance. What is it, and how do you use it to bring people to your way of thinking? Master this skill, and you will increase your deal flow.
Welcome to the Land.MBA podcast, where we go deep into the business of land investing.
Hey, what's going on, Mr. Zonder? How's your day today?
It is great. I woke up to sunlight and an offer of 54 properties to purchase. Life is good.
Nice. Where are those properties? Transylvania?
They're in Florida, which is interesting because I don't typically work in Florida, but maybe I will. We'll see.
Well, you know what? The sunlight is good. I love this time of year when it's light and getting warm. And, I know we always end up talking about the weather, but we both live in cold states in the winter. So it's just makes such a big difference on my psyche this time of year.
I hear you.
Absolutely.
So, have you been listening to any good opera music lately?
No. Do you have any you recommend?
Sure. But opera is a great lead into our conversation today, because we are going to talk about resonance. And the greatest example of resonance is when the fat lady sings and the glass shatters into a million pieces.
She hits that resonant frequency, huh?
That's it. It's kind of a bizarre word, though. I think a lot of people don't really think of it as a business term. And honestly, I through all my studying and being a marketer, it's not a commonly used word. But I heard it once and it resonated with me.
And I hear it used a lot more in that way, not resonance, but did you resonate, or that really resonated with me?
I think that is the key phrase when somebody says that really resonates with me. The important part of that phrase is not resonates, it's with me.
Right.
Because that gets to the heart of it all.
Right. And in this context, we're talking about, of course, our potential buyers and how do we resonate with them to get them to more or less sell themselves.
Absolutely.
So Howard, we've talked about resonance and tell us about it. In your opinion, what does that mean to resonate with a customer or a potential buyer, and how do we resonate? What's some good methods to do that?
Well, let's start with what it isn't. It is not convincing. It is not explaining, and it is not logic. Ronald Reagan, this is not an exact quote, but it's kind of a paraphrase, but he had this great idea where he said, if you have to explain yourself, you've already lost. So nobody wants to be explained to. Nobody wants to be taught or pontificated to. But most importantly, especially as adults, once we've established a belief in something, it's almost impossible to get people off that belief system. So, and yet in marketing, what we typically do is, we tell you about the property. Let me tell you about the property. Oh, it's this big, and it's got this many acres, and it's got road access, and it's got a slope, and it's got some trees, and it's got some grassy area, and we start going through all of the descriptors of a property as if that is what is going to sell it. But the fact of the matter is, what we're doing, there's a gap there between what the property, the attributes of the property, and what somebody might want to do with the property. And we're leaving it for them to cross that chasm and say, okay, will this property meet my needs or not? Now, the fact of the matter is there are probably thousands of properties that will meet those needs. Our challenge is to make him believe that it's only our property that can meet those needs better than anything else. And so we need to be able to resonate with them. And it's not about, again, not about logic. It's about the emotion. It's about what do they care about? What do they want to do with it? How is this land going to improve their lives? That is what's inside of them. And so when you say, oh, that really resonates with me, the important part is with me, because what we're trying to do is identify that driver inside of the other person, whether it's the seller or the buyer, that we can then connect with and make them feel a bond with. So when we think about the fat lady singing and the glass shattering, why does the glass shatter? It doesn't shatter because she hits a note and sound is vibration and the vibration causes the glass to shatter. It's because it's getting hit with these sound waves. That actually isn't what causes it to shatter. Within any glass, there is a particular frequency at which the molecular structure becomes unstable. And at that frequency, it shatters. So when the fat lady sings, she can sing all different kinds of notes and nothing's going to change with that glass. But if she hits the right note, it will shatter because she's resonating with something that is inherent to the molecular structure of the glass. And it's the same thing with people. I cannot change your mind if you believe something. I am not going to go onto Facebook and make an impassioned political plea about why what I'm saying is right and logical and in the best interest of America, and you come from a completely different political viewpoint. I'm not going to convince you. It just ain't going to happen. But if I can find out something that's already inside of you and I can tap into that, now we're going to start to say, oh, you know what? This person kind of gets me. I kind of get that person. I'm opening up. I'm willing to listen. And before you know it, you can start swaying them to your way of thinking. So that's what resonance is. It's finding what's already inside of a person and building upon it.
Is it just me, or is it getting harder and harder to count on a job for our financial security? Who would have ever believed that we would go from the lowest unemployment in 50 years to 40 million people unemployed? Whether you have a great job and want to create a second income, or you're recently unemployed, you need to check out land.mba, your one-stop shop for land investors. Investing in vacant land is a proven business model that can help you build a reliable and scalable second income. Imagine a business where you love what you do. There's no limit on how much money you can make. You can operate your business from anywhere in the world with an internet connection. And best of all, you can never be fired or downsized. If this sounds good to you, land.mba provides everything you need to get your business up and running and delivering income quickly. You get education, an end-to-end video course and optional coaching to help you get started faster and turn your energy into income. You get tools so you can automate and outsource the busy work and stay super organized. You get access to a thriving community of like-minded investors, which is a powerful way to share best practices and develop potential partnerships for growing your business. And finally, you get access to deal financing, so you never have to pass on a great investment opportunity due to limited funds. Our team has over a decade of real estate investing experience and has the knowledge and experience you need to help navigate any investing scenario. And with land.mba, we hold nothing back. Because there are no upsells, you get access to all of our combined knowledge right out of the gate. So don't wait to provide your family with financial freedom. Sign up today for land.mba's soup to nuts land investing video course. Just go to courses.land.mba and use coupon code FREEDOM to get 25% off. That's courses.land.mba and coupon code FREEDOM. And let us help you say goodbye to your job and hello to financial freedom.
Yeah, I agree. And, I love the way this topic kind of ties marketing and sales together. So let's talk about how, do we need to know something about our customers, to resonate with them? And then is it something that we can do on the fly, when we've got them on the phone?
I think the answer is yes. I mean, think about it. if you're going, I mean, if your strategy right now is, oh, I'm going to buy a bunch of cheap property and I'm going to go put it out there in the marketplace and sell it. Well, it'd be hard to figure out any kind of resonant tactic with that. But if you say, oh, I'm going to go buy a bunch of property for this particular end customer, and I've defined what my end customer market is, and I build a persona of that end customer, the more information I get based upon the more people I talk to, I can start to really fill out and flush out this persona till it's like a real person. And then I can start to say, I understand what they care about. I understand what they want to do with the land. I understand why they want to do it. I understand what's driving them to be willing to make this purchase that's expensive. I know what language to use. I know how to put a smile on their face or a chuckle in their voice. And then all of a sudden I can use that in my marketing to achieve resonance before I even get on the phone. So for example, depending upon who your end customer is, let's just say you're selling, one of the 10 million 5-acre lots south of Blanca Peak in Costilla County, Colorado. Everyone looks the same, right? So what is it that people want to do with their land? Well, maybe they're homesteaders, or maybe they want to live off the grid, or maybe they're just people who want some recreation land or whatever. Let's just take recreation land. That's an easy example. So let's just say you've defined there's a desire for people who want to be able to go out and kind of do some fun stuff. And then you go get all your pictures for the property and you put them all up on your ads. The question is, which picture is going to be number one? So when it shows up in the search results, that's the picture that gets associated with your property. Is it a picture of another 5-acre lot with a red box around it and maybe an arrow? Or is it a picture of somebody snowboarding down the Great Sand Dunes?
Right.
So if you know what people want to do emotionally and you give a pictorial view of that, that's the property they're going to open up. And then they'll see all your pictures of the property.
Yeah. So you can be strategic with your photos, but the more you learn about that customer persona, that customer avatar, you can also adjust your ad copy accordingly. I see ads, for example, a lot of the inexpensive properties, the niche that we land investors typically play in is below a price point of where a lot of realtors are interested in playing. And quite frankly, there's not a lot of realtors who focus on land. So you look at an ad that's put up by a realtor and it's been on the market forever, and land investors the ones who are good, that are really doing well with their ad copy and their photos and investing in that, they outsell them like crazy because there's not a great deal of effort put into those. And then conversely, when we get them on the phone, we can ask them questions like, there's a lot of properties out there on the internet. What inspired you to call about mine? And get them talking and get them to sell themselves, and just ask good questions and listen.
Fantastic question. That's a fantastic question, because, think about it. You're putting them in the position of having to sell themselves on your property. And in so doing, they're going to tell you what the attributes were that resonate with them, or simply what resonates with them. And so so if you lead your call with that kind of a question, why did you call about this property? Oh, well, it had this, that, and the other thing. And why is that important to you? Well, because I want to do this, that, and the other thing. What you want to get past is the attributes of the property to why those attributes are important. That's when you start tapping into their emotional buying mechanism.
Right. And it's, in a sales term, it that is tying back the benefits and quantifying the benefits with the features.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to talk about features, because the features don't resonate, the benefits resonate.
Exactly. I always think of it, there's two terms, right? So people make decisions heuristically and they make decisions logically. Both are important. So the heuristic is a weird word that simply means shortcuts. We take shortcuts. If we have to actually think through a thought process on everything we did in a day, there's not enough time in the day to do what we have to do. So we make quick little shortcuts. We go to the grocery store and say, I need mayonnaise, and there's 52 brands of mayonnaise. I don't care. I'm a Hellman's guy. Boom, here's Hellman's. It goes in the cart. I move to the next one. That would be kind of a heuristic decision-making process. But logical says, I need to know the speeds and fees. I need to know the attributes of the property. Is it going to meet my very specific requirements based upon this nit or that nit? Typically, and you can think of personas for those two things. So the heuristic is the emotional purchasing. That's Captain Kirk. And then there's the logical, which is, okay, will it meet my needs? That would be Mr. Spock. So this is a Spock versus Kirk analogy. And yes, I am a geek, and I am, I am a Trekkie. What can I tell you? I like Star Trek. So anyway, it's a good way to think about it, though, because what typically happens in the end is people purchase for emotional reasons, and then they justify it to their friends and families with logical reasons. So you got to give them both. But the logical is not what sells the property. The emotion's what sells the property. The logic you give them so they can justify their purchase and feel good about it after the sale when they talk about it with their friends and family.
Exactly. And it's a really good analogy, just like with a car purchase, because almost every one of us, I'm sure just about every listener in the audience has bought a car. They're probably driving in their car listening to this. And when you buy a car, at the end of the day, your final decision is, when you're weighing two different vehicles or three or four against another, you've checked all the benefits and the price and all this. At the end of the day, you may end up buying the most expensive one, even though you really shouldn't, because it was emotional. It was something that just resonated with your senses.
That's it. And the truth of the matter is, you can build the perfect persona for your market in the world, but there's always the possibility that the person who's calling you doesn't actually fit perfectly with that persona. Yep. So you might have to be a little quick on your feet. And that's why it's good to ask a lot of open-ended questions, because what you want to do is you want to get the customer to tell you what the answer is rather than you guess what the answer is. I'm not going to guess what's important to you. I'm not going to guess what's going to touch you emotionally and what's going to resonate with you. I'm going to ask you some questions, and then you're going to tell me what's important to you. And then I'm going to build upon that in my narrative and my story, and I'm going to do it kind of on the fly.
Hey folks, my name is David Van Steenkist, and I've been a real estate investor for over 10 years. I've used lots of different tools, but none of them has done for my business what LandSpeed does. LandSpeed covers every step in the land investing process, from ordering mailing lists to marketing, sales, and closing the deal. What I really like, though, is it anticipates my needs. When I think, I wish I had a quick and easy way to evaluate return on investment on a potential property, look no further, LandSpeed does it. If I want to edit a deed after LandSpeed creates it, it can do that too. Most systems just stick you with a PDF that's uneditable, and you got to go back into the system and edit the fields and do whatever you need to do, and it's a real pain in the rear end. LandSpeed simplifies it. If I want to send 1 or 5 or even 40 neighbor letters at the click of a button, bam, LandSpeed does it. But even with all that inherent capability, you get access to LandSpeed Community, you get weekly mastermind calls, and you get the best mailing rates in the business with no volume commitment, which is freaking awesome. Because if I just want to pop one contract to somebody, I don't have to pay $1.50. I still pay the bargain basement rate. And on top of that, customer service is stellar, quick, and they just do a great job. I've been very, very happy, very pleased with it. And look, I've been running my business on LandSpeed for over 2 years. So take it from me. If you're serious about your land business, then check out LandSpeed at facebook.com/landbizautomation. That's land, B-I-Z automation. And if you want $100 off, tell them you heard it from me, David Van Steenkist, on the Land.MBA podcast. Exactly. And that and sometimes that helps you to get past any complaints or objections about maybe an attribute that the property's missing. I
Right.
can't, I can only stay in my RV 30 days per year, blah, blah, blah. And then, then as they really start to think about, God, but I love everything else about this, and I can do this and I can do that. The reality is I probably won't stay in that vacation lot more than 30 days a year. I'm going to do like 5 or 6 weekends. And then now they start quantifying it, and you that what was an objection now becomes a small complaint, and now becomes nothing, because you've created this dream, and now they're making a heuristic decision because you resonated with them.
I'll give you an example of this. This sort of influence or persuasion. There's a very fine line between that and manipulation. Manipulation is a bad thing. Yeah. Persuasion is a fine thing. You got to kind of know where that line is. You don't really want to cross it because it's not ethical. But I'll give you an example, and you can decide for yourself whether this crosses the line or not. You move to a new town, and you're gonna go buy a house, and so you're out with your realtor looking at houses. Now, you've told your realtor what attributes you're looking for, and you've told your realtor what your budget is. And the realtor puts together 4 or 5 houses to show you that day. And you're thinking in your head, okay, she's found the 4 or 5 best houses that match my criteria by, the features I want and the budget. But that's often not the case. That's not actually what they're doing. What they've done is they've identified the one house they want to sell you. And the first 2 houses that they're going to show you are houses that do not have all the features that you want and are completely overpriced. And now she's setting in your head an expectation of what the value of a house is, higher than it really is, based upon the features and functionality, or the features of the house. And then the third house she's going to take you to, or he's going to take you to, is going to be a house that's, now I know this is above your budget, but I really want to show it to you. It's a fantastic house. And at a minimum, it'll give you a sense of what you're looking for, but it might be something you really would want to do. And so now she's going to show you this fantastic house. It's like better than you could ever imagine. That's somewhat above your budget, but not too far above your budget. And what she's done is she's bracketed the target. I've given you sort of an expectation of what things should cost, and I've given you at the high end. And now in the 4th house, I'm going in for the kill. And let me show you this house. This is a really good house. This is a solid house. Let me show it to you. And there's this house that meets most of your requirements. It's right around your budget, probably a little bit above your budget. But now, because you've seen the bigger house, your desires are greater, and your price expectations are lower, and you're saying, this is the one for sure. And of course, that was the one that she had staked out to sell you anyway.
Right. Do you ever watch the show Property Brothers?
I haven't, no.
They use a little bit of that strategy, and in that it's more to they take them to houses that they know is well above their budget, but to set the vision. And then they take them to this dump, great bones, something that they want to rehab for them and sell them. And anyway, it's very similar setup.
So this is a bit of a different topic, but we're there right now. So I'm just going to say it. I'm really interested in something called behavioral economics. And behavioral economics is where you go out and you don't necessarily just come up with a bunch of theories. You take a bunch of theories and then you create experiments in the real world to see how people really behave. And there was this one experiment where they it was for Brunswick pool tables. And this is when you go to a Brunswick store and buy a pool table. And they put this lost leader ad in the paper, and it was like $99 for a pool table. And then what they did is, as people came in the door, they put them into 2 different groups. So the first group, they would say, hey, I saw this ad in the paper. I'd like to buy this pool table. And so they would immediately go and show them that pool table. And they say, but before you make your decision, let me show you this, because for just a little bit more, you might be able to get quite a bit more in your pool table. And then they start working them up the line, trying to see how far up they can get them to the more expensive pool tables. The other group would come in and they say, hey, I saw this ad in the paper. I'd like to get this pool table. They said, before I show you that, let me show you. I got something I want to show you. And they show them the most expensive pool table in the store. And then they start working them down. And they did this with a lot of people. And the goal was to see, for comparable amounts of people, which one resulted in more sales and which one resulted in a higher revenue per purchase. And when you start people high and work them down, it's like a third to a half, it's like 33 to 50% higher revenue per deal than when you start them at the bottom and work their way up. Which is probably a whole other topic, but something that we could cover but it is kind of relevant to that story.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're just about out of time here, Bud. Any final thoughts? I think this has been a great topic. I hope some people have some takeaways on their marketing and their selling and how to resonate with their customers' persona.
Absolutely. One final thought is that question that you asked earlier was a great question. So there's so many properties on the internet. Can I ask why you decided to call about this one? Yeah. One, you're getting them to answer your question so you know what resonates. That's one thing. But what happens when they say something like, well, I just want a piece of land that I can live in my RV all year long. And you know for full well that property cannot, that violates the zoning regulations. Is that a good thing?
Well, it helps you get to know quickly, and that's part of sales, so you don't waste your time with that buyer. So
absolutely, wouldn't it be great to be able to qualify them early on, and rather than have to get to the third call and have wasted hours of time only to find out it's never going to work.
Yeah, exactly. So, All right, very good. Hey, peace out. Have a good day. Talk to you soon.
We hope you enjoyed this episode, had a bit of fun, and walked away with some actionable insights that you can apply to your business. Dave and I have got some great content and interviews planned, so don't forget to rate and review, and of course subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. If we mention any interesting links or tools, you'll find them in the show notes. To learn more about Land.MBA, visit our website at, wait for it, Land.MBA. See you next time on the Land.MBA podcast.